Welcome to the explainer. You know that feeling, that nagging cough that just will not quit? We've all been there. But what if the answer isn't in the pharmacy, but right there in your kitchen? Today we're going to dig into some really effective home remedies that have been around for ages. You know, there's this old proverb that really hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures just how tricky coughs can be to treat, even for doctors. It really shows you that this isn't some new problem. People have been struggling with this for centuries. So if even the professionals find it tough, where do we turn? Well, it turns out that generations of wisdom have passed down some pretty amazing remedies, and you're not going to find these in a pharmacy, you'll find them in your pantry. Okay, so let's get right to it. We're going to look at 4 super simple but really powerful remedies that people have been using forever to finally get some relief from a stubborn cough. All right, remedy number 1 actually comes from a taxi driver's family recipe, which is pretty cool. And it is so simple. All you have to do is cook some white rice porridge. You might know it as congee. The real secret here is that thick, creamy layer that forms right on top. That stuff, sometimes called rice cream, is thought to be amazing for soothing both coughs and wheezing.
And the thinking behind this is fascinating. In a lot of traditional medicine, there's this idea that food color is linked to health. And white foods, like the rice we just talked about, but also things like lily bulb and ginkgo nut, are all seen as being especially good for your lungs.
Okay, next up, we're going to use one of those white foods we just mentioned, the ginkgo nut. Now, ginkgo has this incredible reputation for breaking down greasy, sticky stuff. I mean, the ancient herbalist Li Shen actually said you could use crushed ginkgo to scrub oily dishes. And it's that exact same property that makes it so good at breaking up phlegm. And what I love about these remedies is just how easy they are. I mean, look at this. You just toss some millet and ginkgo nuts in a pot, add water and a little rock sugar, and let it cook down into a thick, cozy porridge. It's such a gentle, nourishing way to tackle phlegm, you know? No harsh stuff involved.
Okay, I'll admit, this next one sounds a little weird, but trust me on this. It's the salt-baked orange. Yeah, you heard that right. This remedy uses the magic of citrus combined with a little bit of salt to create this warm, soothing treatment for your cough.
And making it is just as simple as it sounds. You just slice the top off an orange to make a little lid, sprinkle some salt right onto the fruit inside, pop the lid back on, and bake it. It's an old technique. People used to just stick it in the embers of a fire. What you get is this warm, kind of bitter, but incredibly soothing little package of relief.
And our last remedy is a total classic. You might even remember this one from when you were a kid, steamed pear with rock sugar. The whole point here isn't just about soothing your throat. It's actually about helping your body deal with phlegm by making it, well, easier to get out.
So just like we did with the orange, you're basically turning the pear into its own little cooking bowl. You scoop out the core, fill that little hollow with some rock sugar, put the top back on, and then steam the whole thing. The thinking is that the sweetness from the rock sugar helps thin out the phlegm, making it less thick so your body can clear it out more easily. Okay, now listen up because this next part is really important. That steamed pear remedy can be an absolute lifesaver, but, and this is a big but, it is not for every single type of cough. If you use it in the wrong situation, you could actually make things a whole lot worse. So here's the deal. If your cough is from something like asthma, or if you look at the phlegm and it's thin, white, and kind of watery or bubbly, you have to stay away from this remedy. Those symptoms are a sign of a totally different kind of issue in the body, and it needs a completely different fix.
All right, so we've seen the what, the actual remedies. Now let's get into the why. Because to really get a handle on this, we need to understand how people thought about coughs from a much older, more holistic point of view.
This is so cool. In ancient texts, they didn't just have one word for cough. They actually split it in 2. There was ke, which was just the sound of a cough, a dry one. And then there was sao, which was a cough that actually brought up phlegm. I mean, that shows an incredible amount of detailed observation, right from the start. And this right here points to a huge difference in thinking. The modern Western way is pretty straightforward, right? You have a cough, so you take something to stop the cough. But the traditional Chinese medicine approach, or TCM, sees it differently. The cough isn't the problem itself. It's a symptom. It's a signal that there's a deeper imbalance inside your body, and it's not always just about the lungs.
So if it's a deeper imbalance, where's it coming from? Well, this ancient idea points to a pretty surprising place, your digestive system. The thinking is that phlegm doesn't actually start in your lungs. It's more like a byproduct of a digestive system that's just not working right. Maybe it's running too damp or sluggish. All that extra moisture has to go somewhere, and a lot of times it ends up affecting your lungs.
And see, understanding that root cause is a real game changer, because it means we can shift our thinking from just treating a cough to actually preventing it. If we know it's throwing things out of balance, we can try to avoid it before it even starts.
And when you talk about prevention, it really comes down to three main things. If you can keep these three areas in check, you're doing a lot to maintain that internal balance and keep your lungs healthy and happy.
So what are they? First, you've got the environment around you. Too much wind, cold, or heat can really throw your system for a loop. Second, and we've talked a lot about this, is certain foods. And number 3 is the big one we all know about: smoke, a major irritant for the lungs.
This chart here is super helpful. That column on the left, those are foods you probably want to eat a little less of in general, just to keep things balanced. But that column on the right, that's the really important one. If you already have a cough, these are the foods you should try to avoid completely, because they're thought to just make things worse. So, we've gone through the remedies, the ancient theories, the tips for prevention. What's the big takeaway here? How does all this change how we look at our health day in and day out?
You know, it's kind of funny. After diving into all this deep, ancient wisdom, one of the most powerful tools for prevention is something your parents probably yelled at you about as a kid: wash your hands. And do it properly and often. It's such a simple little thing, but it can stop so many illnesses before they even have a chance to start.
And all this leaves us with one final thing to think about. We've seen that modern medicine is obviously crucial, but is the best medicine always found in a pharmacy? Or is it maybe hidden in the little things we do, the habits we build every single day?